Michael Jewett is from the University of Toronto Faculty of Medicine. He's a professor of urology. He is also the chair of Kidney Cancer Research Network of Canada, a past president of the Canadian Association, Urological Association. And he also recently received the Queen's Jubilee Medal. I'm sure he's going to tell us about that. He is an expert at doing cystoscopies, I hear. He's also very good at taking out kidneys when they're not doing so well. I first met Michael again in 2008 in Mont-Tremblant. That was a wonderful experience up at that conference. I can tell you he's more than everything you are going to see on his bio inside your kit. He is a wonderful advocate for Kidney Cancer Canada. He has advanced this organization so much. Words cannot describe what he has done, and he is a very, very passionate and compassionate man. And would you please welcome Michael Jewett to the stage.
I guess I should shake your hand. Good morning. Nothing better than Saturday morning to be sitting here in the sub-basement on a spring day outside, but I think the cause transcends that, and I guess I should thank you for that introduction, Ross. What did resonate with me, though, was the commitment to KCC and to see this organization. One of the great pleasures that I have thinking about health, Alex, is to see things that mature and like children grow, and the KCC has not only become a successful advocate for kidney cancer in Canada, it's become a lightning rod in the world, I would say, for the Kidney Coalition that Deb and your leadership have been fostering, and now this initiative around oral drug support from the ministries, which I think I heard is 34 groups. Deb, I'm not sure where you're sitting now, but she's driving what's the number?
I'm up next. You're not
Okay, I won't. Sorry. But it's just an example of some of the things that this group's done. And another thing this group has done is to encourage us, the researchers who are trying to address some of the issues that Alex highlighted, to bring together the Canadian experts, and by that I mean not just the experts who are suffering with the disease, but the clinician experts, the researchers, and to create the Canadian Kidney Cancer, to play off KCC, Kidney Cancer Research Network of Canada. And I'm going to tell you about this in the next few minutes. I'm going to try and move this forward a bit. We, back in 2008, as you've already heard, brought together experts with your group and other survivors to discuss kidney cancer, and we called this the first Canadian Kidney Cancer Forum. And that was a very successful event, and the next year, in 2009, envisaged creating a research network that would address some of the issues we identified. And the research network had, I don't know how well you can see this, but I'm going to read it because I still like these visions and mission statements. So our vision was to promote kidney cancer research to make Canada a global leader in the management of kidney cancer patients. So the vision was lofty. It remains lofty. I think we are achieving a leadership role in what we're doing. We're recognized as a group of people that function in a system which I think Alex portrayed to be somewhat dysfunctional, and I wouldn't claim that it's totally perfect, but I would say it's an environment to do effective research that particularly our neighbors south of the border have some problems with. And so our mission was to create a network of researchers committed to the facilitation of kidney cancer research across different sites in Canada that will enhance knowledge of kidney cancer and its treatment. So there was a RFP put out by our Canadian Institutes for Health Research in 2011, and we'd had some warning about this through Deb and Joan Baziak and other moles in the Canadian system, and we put together a proposal for what was called a Network Catalyst Grant, and this was to conform with some of the missions of our Canadian Institute for Cancer Research, which is part of the CIHR, as you know, and there are a number of institutes, and the priorities are lifestyle, environment, cancer, etc., as I've got up here, and the last item there is survivorship. So to address these, we put together a proposal. We worked very hard on this for about 6 months, and we were successful. And this is a picture that you can see Catherine and Deb on the right side there. We received this formally. It was actually done here in Toronto, and we had representative of the federal government, and we were awarded a 3-year grant, which began in June of 2012. So we're past the halfway point, and this is 3 years. It's a partnership not only with the federal government, but you, the KCC, you've put real money into this, and the Kidney Foundation of Canada put money into it too. So it's a unique partnership. It's about I think about 20% of it comes from your advocacy groups. So we created a leadership committee, and you can see in the bottom left Tony Finelli, who's going to speak next here, and the bottom right Catherine, and some of the other people across the country, and I won't take time to introduce them, but these are thought leaders in various aspects of kidney cancer who are spending a lot of their time working with you, the patients, and your carers, as the British call it, which I like better than caregivers. And we created a website which is embedded within KCC's website, and you can see the colors of the logo that match the KCC. You can see the relationship just by how we are functioning electronically. So this is a schematic of what the network is, and I don't think I have a mouse to point, but in the top are 3 circles to represent this partnership between the expert clinicians, and we particularly use that word clinicians not to represent the MDs only, but to include the nurses who are involved, the physiotherapists, the pharmacists, and I could go on, all of the healthcare groups who are committed to you and managing kidney cancer. The top right of circle is the scientists, and by that I mean people who are not only the clinical people, but people working at the bench and in various other things like the Survivorship Center at Princess Margaret Cancer Center. And then the bottom circle is UKCC. So I'm unaware of any partnership like this in the world, for that matter, but certainly in Canada, where there is such a close relationship between all of us trying to achieve the same thing. So we formed initially 4 teams, and the bottom left box has 4 circles, and we, a bit artificially, clumped together the scopes of work that we would initially address. And so on the top circle we've called personalized medicine, and this is meant to be a fairly fast response to new discovery, to take those to clinical trials, to look at innovative testing of new ideas with patients, and to this end, and I'll come back to it and outline some of the clinical trials which are ongoing. The left-hand quality of care, this is general efforts to improve all aspects of quality care, and Tony Finelli is one of the leaders here. On the right circle, survivorship, and I'll come to that. And at the bottom, because kidney cancer is well known to occur with heritable diseases like von Hippel-Lindau, and I've been very pleased to see KCC becoming increasingly interested in trying to help some of these very rare disease states who get, amongst other conditions, kidney cancer, and their groups are quite small, and I think you are such an example of successful advocacy that it would be wonderful to see an increasing relationship between the VHL Family Alliance, tuberous sclerosis, and so forth. The right-hand box has two circles in it, and the font's quite small here, I realize, on these screens. But the top is the Canadian Kidney Cancer Information System, or as we call the acronym, CKIS. And CKIS has 13 sites across Canada. We have a web-based data capture of all new patients that are diagnosed since January 2011 in those sites. And we think we're capturing a cohort that's quite large and somewhere in the range of 20 to 40% of Canadian cases of all types, both metastatic and localized. And we're tracking their progress, the type of treatment they get, with such things as looking at sequencing of drugs, looking at what drugs people start on, why they change, within the limits of data that we can realistically capture. And this is run by Simon Tanguay and McGill in Montreal, and is really quite an interesting project that we felt was necessary because the tumor registries in Canada, first of all, are not complete. For example, Quebec is not an active participant in the federal cancer collection data. And the data is very slow to come through to final reporting. So it can take up to 4 years, actually, for a newly diagnosed kidney cancer case to appear in the federal statistics. And we felt that, particularly back in 2008, when we started the momentum for this, that it's so dynamic, the evolution of treatments, that we really couldn't capture what was happening and therefore study it. And the bottom circle is clinical trials. So we call those the two tools to enable the 4 initiatives, and these aren't cast in stone. They certainly can change over time. So very quickly, just to summarize some of the things that are happening under these initiatives: the genetics initiative, which is led by Stephen Potler at Western University, and in Ottawa, Neil Rium. And this embodies a much larger group of Canadian geneticists and clinicians. And we've just put in a proposal to the CIHR to create a 15-gene panel using the next generation sequencing technology, that we can take a buccal swab from the inside of the cheek or a blood sample, extract the DNA, and look for mutations in what we call the germline. That means the things you inherited into your body, and we can see whether there are mutations, particularly in a group of people that we think are at high risk for carrying the mutations. And those of you who are kidney cancer sufferers and survivors here in the room, we would say there's something in the order of 5 to 10% chance that you have a known, or we could detect a known mutation in your genome, in your DNA. We think that number is low. We think there are detectable with the new systems. We think we can get up higher than that. In fact, selecting people like the young patient, maybe the 25-year-old, the patient who has 2 or 3 tumors, not 1 tumor, obviously patients who have a family history, that we think overall we may be up into the 20% range, something in that order, and maybe higher. And you can imagine how this could impact on going forward with your follow-up, how it would impact on your families. So that's the principal focus of this genetics initiative, is to get funding. We've built the panel already with funds from a benefactor, and we want to test the people identified through CKIS who meet these high-risk characteristics that we've published. And this report was the first report ever of a risk group that we think should be studied, and we've published that last year. We're also looking at better ways to run genetic clinics, and we're going to begin in July. Dr. Finelli, who's speaking next, and I are going to begin a clinic every month, we hope, with a geneticist who is being hired in July, and a genetic counselor, to see people who we think deserve more attention and to try and bring that into the kidney cancer clinics as opposed to happening out there somewhere remote. The personalized medicine group, and George Bjarnson, who's going to speak and is in the room here and is known to many of you, particularly in Ontario, has a dedicated practice in metastatic kidney cancer and has become our thought leader in this area, working with Danny Heng in Calgary, and colleagues are running 2 trials in Canada, and the first one that George gets credit for is now up to around 70 patients out of 110, looking at dosing of the sunitinib drug, and he's determined and got data, as many of you may know, and I think we'll speak about, that suggests we can do much more with this particular drug. But it also is a proof of principle that a Canadian can mount a trans-Canada trial involving patients from multiple centers, and he's taking that into another trial with a colleague who you'll hear from later today as well, looking at radiation for metastatic disease, and I won't steal his thunder, and that's about to open, and I've just heard maybe with some centers in Australia and New Zealand, which would be an interesting outreach program. So we're looking at collecting cancer tumor tissue at the time of surgery from various centers in Canada, that we can create a tumor bank that's national, that'll allow us to do more of the genetic and discovery type of research. The quality initiative, the third area, and Tony Finelli with Dr. Laurie Wood and Dalhousie, and you can hear as I mention people how truly national this initiative is, and these people are leading these various sub-teams within the research network. And this group has led a process that's been actually very labor intensive, and I don't want to steal any of Tony's thunder, who's going to speak next, but by doing a process that is called a modified Delphi technique of getting experts to indicate what they think are important measurements of quality in cancer care, came up with 23 what are called quality indicators, and have published this, and to my knowledge is the only such publication in kidney cancer, that are measurable. So this would give a report card, if you will, of how well we are doing nationally, and can we see differences across the country, and can we improve where we feel there's improvement. And for example, some of these sound very pedestrian, but in the micro font up there is proportion of patients undergoing appropriate risk-specific staging. And what that means is that in the process of diagnosis and x-raying to see if there's spread, how big the tumor is, to actually record this is a stage T1A, N0, M0, for example. And that ensures that the treatment options are being considered in our Canadian consensus, leading to, we hope, a improved treatment decision making. That's one of many. The last initiative is the Survivorship Initiative, and we've just put in a grant proposal as well here to roll out a survivorship care plan. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's essentially a document that you can take home soon after diagnosis or early in the treatment that outlines what the appropriate follow-up recommendations would be, what testing, what you can do in other arenas in your health. And it can be basically a report card that you can take to your family doctor, or for that matter into the emergency department if something happens, that records the drugs you've had or are on, and so forth. And we're going to roll that out in 4 centers. In Canada, we're going to begin at Princess Margaret, just because this is where the information systems are that are more electronically available to populate this care plan. And this will hopefully become a national pilot that will lead to this being more widely adopted in cancer care in general. So we've just held in January our 5th Canadian Kidney Cancer Forum. We have plans for a 6th in early February, again involve the groups that I've spoken about, and this we call Building the Momentum because that was halfway through our network funding cycle, and we're hoping that this will become a irresistible force and this research network can be sustained going forward with you as critical participants. And this would not be possible without some pharmaceutical support, and these are just the sponsors at our last forum, and I appreciate very much the contributions we've had from all of you. So that's a little run through of the research network, and I'll be around for a little bit. I was just called this morning that my basement's flooding out at the farm north of Toronto, so I may have to leave before the end of the day, but thank you very much.